Ladies and gentlemen, the Los Angeles Lakers committed some out-and-out thievery tonight. Let's talk about it.
Okay, let's go.
Coming into the series between a 2 and a 7, usually you would never think that the 7 has much of a chance. Now, that's not the case here, specifically because the Lakers have a physical advantage, and most of that physical advantage is the size and the length that Anthony Davis can provide, especially on the interior defensively. He allows the Lakers to wall off the paint, he walls off the rim, and that limits what Memphis does best, being able to get Ja going downhill, scoring the basketball at the rim and making his floater. And then if the defense switches to make it more of an issue for Ja to make those types of shots, then he can kick it out, get Desmond Bane some shots, and etc. What the Lakers are able to do is completely shut the paint off and make sure that there are very few easy looks at the rim for Memphis. And they did that again in the first half today. And they were able to get about a 15-point lead with about 3 minutes to go in the first half. And then, as they tend to do, the Lakers took their foot off the gas pedal. And then all of a sudden, Memphis was only down 2 at halftime, and it was a game. Memphis in this particular game honestly deserves a ton of credit. Number one, for not giving up after the Lakers really imposed their will and built a lead early in the second quarter, but also for the general level of effort that they put forth throughout the game, and especially throughout the second half. They honestly outworked the Lakers, and this is one of those very rare situations where one team clearly outworks the other and yet is not rewarded with a victory in the playoffs. Memphis was undone, unfortunately, as a lot of people predicted coming into the series, by their lack of jump shooting. At the end of the day, they just don't have enough guys on their team who can consistently make three-pointers, and that really dragged them down tonight. They created a very good level of shot overall. There were a bunch of open threes, including for Desmond Bane, who has a great track record of making threes in the NBA. They just didn't make enough of them, and that left the door open for the Lakers to come in and have LeBron put together a brilliant drive late, finished superbly over a great contest from Jaren Jackson Jr. And then in overtime, the Lakers deserve a ton of credit. They were able to recalibrate themselves and actually execute offensively and defensively. Their spacing, their ball movement was very good. And once again, their championship level defense, which is the key to their success, showed up. It is amazing, though, that Anthony Davis can go most of a 48-minute stretch without showing up really at all in this game. LeBron James, who is clearly trying at age 38 to conserve energy to try to go on a longer playoff run so that he has enough energy remaining to play in a conference finals or a finals game and still have enough energy left to impact the game consistently. But tonight, it was clear early on two things. One, that LeBron understood the importance of this game. He was making tight defensive rotations. He had called for a goaltend in the first half that just demonstrated his level of effort on both sides of the ball tonight. And LeBron absolutely rescued AD. The media, and I think rightfully so, would have torn AD to shreds. He was basically a phantom for most of this game, most of regulation, and then did a great job coming through in overtime, to his credit. But at the end of the day, if LeBron and AD can't play full games, and it's understandable that LeBron can't play a full game in the first round, he's trying to conserve energy, but if LeBron and AD can't play full games or take their foot off the gas pedal physically against a team like Golden State or Sacramento or Denver or Phoenix, those teams are so much more competent offensively than Memphis is. The Lakers are going to find themselves down too big to come back in a lot of those games. The Lakers should advance in this series because they were able to limit Memphis just enough to steal a win tonight. But they need to understand that this level of vacillating effort is not going to cut it against a more competent offensive team. They need to be better, and most importantly, they need to be more consistent. But credit to LeBron for making an all-time play to rescue the Lakers in regulation, and then the Lakers playing really great physical championship-level defense in overtime that allowed them to secure the win. Darvin Ham, I think, has done a very nice job trying to fit in a bunch of new pieces post-trade deadline after Rob Pelinka really finally gave him the pieces to construct at least a very competent NBA defensive rotation, and his acumen has shown. But tonight, he actually shot himself in the foot by being too loyal to his general rotations. What do I mean by that? In this particular series, I think Rui Hachimura is a guy who needs to play a really large complement of minutes. He stretches the floor well. He didn't have his best game tonight, but his rebounding, his ability to be a secondary rim protector when Davis is on the floor but has to contest the shot initially. He actually Rui did some nice contests down the stretch in this game that prevented layups from John Morant. And despite Jared Vanderbilt's excellent start to the game offensively, at the end of the day, that's not an offensive contribution, especially in terms of outside shooting that you can rely on. And I think this series just fits Rui much better in the same way that I think it fits Dennis Schroeder much better compared to D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell, I'm never going to be a fan of his game. I don't think that he can contribute consistently. He's a very, very susceptible defender. You saw how often he fouled in this game. He's a guy who you can attack as Memphis or any team that has reasonable point of attack driving players. And he's pretty much been a zero or a negative player, in fact, in his minutes in this series because he hasn't shot the ball that well. And again, he has the ability to contribute positively for the Lakers as a catch and shoot player. I would much rather have the ball in LeBron's hands down the stretch and to have D'Angelo be spotting up off the ball. He's much more effective in those types of situations. But if D'Angelo is not making his jump shot, again, he is a player who drags down the Lakers defense, commits unnecessary fouls, and genuinely does not deserve minutes ahead of Dennis Schroeder and others. So going forward for the Lakers, it is crucial that Darvin Ham, I would argue, be a little bit more flexible with his rotations, given the differentiation in matchups. Again, styles make fights. If you can't adjust to matchups, you will get overrun in the NBA playoffs. And Darvin needs to be a bit more flexible to prevent that from happening against a more competent offensive team like the Warriors, like Sacramento, like Phoenix, like the Nuggets. And just a conclusionary side note on Dillon Brooks, who unsurprisingly, as a petulant child, has refused to speak to the media after both games 3 and 4. It would be very surprising, I think, to see Dillon Brooks, who's playing for a contract currently, back with the Grizzlies after this summer. The Grizzlies are, I'm sure, very tired of his antics, having to defend his weird behavior ad nauseum. But also, at the end of the day, the key Achilles heel for this team, which has really shown up in this series, unfortunately for them, is that they lack shooting, especially in their starting lineup from the outside. They are just not a good enough jump shooting team to beat multiple good teams in a playoff series. And the Grizzlies, I'm sure, are going to look for a defender who can actually contribute more consistently as a jump shooter this offseason. And I'm pretty sure that won't be Dillon. And just one very quick note on the Bucks Heat series before we go. It goes without saying, just an all-time performance from Jimmy Butler. Jimmy reminded us once again why he is one of the most reliable guys in terms of raising his game beyond even what you'd expect from an all-star caliber player. And it's one of the few examples of a situation where a guy really earns a max contract. Jimmy reminded us once again tonight. But at the end of the day, I still think the Bucks have a great chance to come back in this series. It is very rare in NBA history that teams come back from 3-1. But in this particular matchup, again, the Bucks have an excellent defense and they have the ability to win 3 straight. However, if the Heat were to get by, I will say this: the Knicks are looking excellent in terms of their pick and roll coverage, in terms of the bodies that they have, young athletic point of attack defenders like Barrett, McBride, guys who can defend physically against the Heat at the point of attack. This would not be a very advantageous matchup were the Heat to play the Knicks in the next round. I don't think that they would be favored, nor should they be. But again, when you have the best coach remaining, one of the 2 or 3 best coaches remaining in Eric Spoelstra, the Heat have shown over the course of years that they can compete in series where on paper it seems like they should be overwhelmed. So going to be great to see the next couple games in that series. Thank you guys so much for listening. I do basketball watches most nights on kick.com. It's on your screen right now. So jump in if you want to talk basketball, watch basketball, and hopefully everyone has a great night. Enjoy the games.